Hi, I'm Dave Brickell, Director of Sales at Paradigm. Welcome to The Big Picture.
Vol is mean reverting, so the obvious trade is always the expensive one to
This
carry.
whole peak inflation, peak rates narrative, peak Fed, which we've been
If you
talking
don't know
about.
who you are, it's an expensive place to find out. Crypto vol, a potentially fatal place to find out.
The crypto option markets are definitely showing some signs of life. Hey guys, welcome everyone to another episode of The Big Picture, your weekly deep dive into the crypto derivative markets. I'm Joe Cruey. Alongside me, we have our in-house macro specialist, David Brickell, as well as my fellow colleague, Steve Weingroff. I think this is, Steve, what is this, your second Big Picture?
Second time on.
Yeah, excited to have you back. And today we're privileged to have Marty on. So Marty is a seasoned option trader, crypto option Twitter short vol sensation, and I would also say a meme master. So definitely give him a follow if you are not currently following him. But before we dive in, if you appreciate these discussions, you want to hear more, help us reach a wider audience by hitting that like button, smash that subscribe button, help us continue to share this podcast to the world. Marty, super pumped to have you on today, man. And we're kind of intrigued, I guess, just to start, to understand your journey into the crypto world and brought you specifically into trading crypto options.
Sure. What's going on, guys? I think you missed that I also am the owner of a creepy discontinued giveaway hat business.
Loris in disbelief.
Yeah, Loris is in disbelief.
Marty, I'm so gutted that I didn't get to the office this week to get my hat.
I was honestly gonna send. I was gonna send all three of you a hat, and you all had it on for the show. That would have been maybe too much, but yeah. I'm originally from the States, but I live down here in Brazil full time now. I'm not like a traditional TradFi guy, New Yorker that turned vol trader. I more got caught up in, I guess, kind of where everybody starts trying to trade. I don't know, you buy spot, then you go to drawing meme lines and, I don't know, ascending triangles and whatever, some TA stuff. And then you move into, oh, well, what are these perps? So let's trade some perps. Then you go and how do we hedge these perps? And slowly snowballed to now we're managing a small boutique size options fund. But that's kind of where I'm at right now. I guess I started when Bitcoin was $100. So my first like 10x was 100 to 1,000 and like, oh my God, this is amazing. And it rolls into how do you keep the money, right? Like you can hit these 10x's, you can hit these big paydays, but I think I wrote it all the way down, right? I probably didn't even make much at the end of the day. Then 2017 came around and 2018, and that was like the big hype. I think everybody was talking about it. I specifically remember a lady at the bus stop in Portland or Uber stop in Portland was like, "Oh, could you help me create a crypto wallet?" She heard me and my buddy talking about crypto, so that was like maybe it was time to sell. That was probably like Pico top, and really got into the crypto vol side more recently. We were number 10 market maker on the FTX products, specifically the US stuff, right? So doing more spot trading and things like that, spot market making, and really got into the options stuff more recently. Of course, I've used them for a few years now, but as a main income, not focusing on Delta One stuff or spot stuff. That's where we're at now. What's more interesting recently is you have this ETF hype, you have the halving coming up, you have this presidential election, right? You have like these organic vol inducing events or vol bringing events. I don't know if I guess vol is a 40 handle right now, right? So the market isn't like, oh my God, it's coming back right now. Today's the day, hip hip hooray. BlackRock is going to carry us to Valhalla. We're not there yet. Clearly, vol's just been down to the right since November, and the ETH merge was the natural or was the last kind of spikes. And since then, I mean, geez, a 40 handle. Like, I have a bet that if not historical vol, but if D-vol goes into the 20s, I have to quit trading crypto options and stop selling vol until it comes back above.
Yeah,
with one of my CFA buddies. Yeah.
Marty, you seem to have caught the move pretty well. What was it that you were looking at over the last few months that kind of really sort of got you on that wave of being short vol?
It was kind of looking at nothing, right? There was nothing coming. There's no, besides another black swan or time, you're not going to dig yourself out of this vol hole, is what I say, right? Uh, November was what, like 140 ETH or something like that, and we hit like 70 or 80 handle during the Chappelle move, the ETH update, and besides that, nothing's changed. There's no, USD liquidity, no ventures really getting backed like there was in the hype cycle. There was just nothing to look at, right? So what are we going to do? We're just going to short vol and manage the Greeks. That's all we can do until the vol regime changes. And I know I say that a lot recently, but and I get a lot of questions. Well, when is it back? When is it back? I don't know. Nobody knows, right? So maybe we do get our face ripped off one day, but essentially we've been selling this short dated stuff and trying to buy some long dated Vega. So if there is a pickup, hopefully we should profit from that pickup. But like we can't time when vol comes back. It's not like, oh yeah, on Q3 or Q4 it's gonna come back. I think that we have the halving in the presidential election as some like natural organic vol inducing events, but nothing like, I don't know. When are we going to go back to trading 100 handle, 140 handle again? I miss those days. Those were fun. This is boring. This people on crypto Twitter are getting more meaner by the day.
You're right. No, I totally hear you there, and it definitely seems like some of the flows that I have on screen is just, a lot of people kind of seeing the moves in spot and vol, like what we saw late last week, and then just like completely top ticking this thing, right? So these are all flows that were coming through when ETH was breaking out around 2K, and BTC was above 31, and it was quite interesting. We just saw this like massive upside and gamma buying on the spot move higher from the XRP ruling, especially in Ethereum that has just completely played second fiddle to BTC pretty much all this year outside of the Chappelle, which you mentioned. And it was pretty much all one way flow, and it turns out these guys completely top ticked this thing. And from your Twitter, Marty, it kind of seems like something that you saw coming. Implieds now are back in the mid 30s. Looks like Marty wins again, right? Like, so when you saw this spike higher in spot and vol, like, did you see this as kind of an opportunity to initiate some new short vol positions, that would have paid off well, or were you managing risk of short vol positions that you had on, and potentially temporarily offsides on the move?
Sure. Yeah, front end picked up like a lot, especially in ETH, but not necessarily Bitcoin, because I think ETH was riding this. ETH is not a security hype, right? So that was like instant pickup on the front end. Uh, but you never saw like the uptick in vol a little bit later, right? You never saw the end of the year. You never saw March. You never saw June even pick up like at all. If I remember correctly, it might have even been down. Um, and it seemed crypto Twitter was euphoric, like always, right? You can only be on Twitter so much. You can only, don't listen to anybody on Twitter. There are only like 5 people know what they're talking about. Besides that, we're all there for fun and games. And you saw like ETH really pick up in this short-term stuff. We covered a lot of our shortfall positions, but it wasn't like, oh my God, we got blown out. Loris is like baking a cake, Like it wasn't like it wasn't like this grand inducing event. Like if we would have saw the back end pickup, we would have made a lot more money. It wasn't like a super crazy day for us. Put some more positions on towards like the end of that hype cycle, but it wasn't like we probably could have just stayed where we were and made even more money. But we still collected data every day, and unfortunately, we don't have like $1 billion to play with, or I think it would be a totally different story. I'm pretty comfortable where we're at managing this little boutique, sub 20 million micro boutique fund. We have a lot of say on what we can do, and not a lot of chief investment officers trying to make a play, or traders trying to make a play.
Right. No,
and Marty, what are the what are like the core kind of strategies you tend to put onto Express's view?
Short
like
everything.
sh-
Short everything. No,
short,
like
short, short
yeah,
straddles? Short...
yeah. I mean, the more complex it gets, the you could just really just one line, one simple word is just sell more vol, right? Just trying to do as much volume as we possibly can, so we get, OKX and Bybit and some of these other guys. Hopefully we get a gold star from them and they like us. And then hedging out the Greeks with some perps and some spot, and it's all become automated now. It used to be like, I don't know, let's short this strangle with a few clicks. Let's put this on and let's rehedge every hour, every 30 minutes at like the very beginning, right? And then instantly saw like, oh, that's only going to work so well if you're only playing with a small chip stack. We need something that can scale.
Marty,
Right.
so like, broadly in, the investment management space, like in crypto, it's kind of all about like how well you can manage your capital. So how do you go about sort of managing like cross exchange and like different margin requirements and like C5 versus DeFi? Like how does that look for you?
Sure. The problem that I'm seeing now is there's money to be made because in CeFi and DeFi or a mix of all, there's a different price on every exchange of every hour of the day. The issue that, and maybe the reason why it's not fully arbed out yet, is because of capital requirements, right? On some of these DeFi things, you need 100% margin. So, oh my God, you're going to put, I don't know, $1 million on a smart contract, let's say, to make $1,000. Oh God, please let's not do that, right?
Hmm.
You can only it would be a lot easier if there was some more margin. It'd actually be better if there was a prime brokerage for all DeFi. And if somebody's making this, just ping me because I would love this. If there was a margin, like one margin for all DeFi of all the protocols, this would be a game changer for sure, right? You could play uh, Synquote, you can play Avo, Avocado. They post the Avocado, so I always call them the Avocado Exchange. You could play these guys uh, on one margin book, and oh my God, it would be life changing. But I think all of these different pricings would be priced out instantly. You have Lyra, Premia, Synquote, all these guys, right?
I want to talk a little bit about this pretty interesting case of short vol going wrong. That happened over these past few weeks. We've discussed continuously on the big picture, the presence of this large Ethereum overwriter in the market that was very active, throughout Q1 and Q2. These guys don't trade on Paradigm, so we're happy to happy to talk about it. And we've been tracking the positions of this overwriter. And what's very interesting is on last week's XRP driven rally, we saw this entity in what appears to be complete panic covering mode, buying back a large amount of their short upside positions. Most notably were these March 2300 calls, which was the largest open position of this entity. I think in the March 2300 calls in early June, they sold around 400K Vega of this thing. And they sold it. So if you see on that chart, the majority of this flow was occurring where that left arrow is and being sold at 44 vol. And when they bought it back last week to cover this thing, he was paying roughly 52 vol.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned, the Vega trade initiation in this strike was roughly around 400K. So on the vol move alone, they lost 8 vols on this, and 8 vols on 400K, and this is an underestimate too. Given the Vega exposure being dynamic in both spot and vol. So just looking at where this guy opened and closed this trade, they crystallized a $3.5 to $4 million loss on this thing. And, we saw this, and honestly, we weren't really surprised to see the covering when we saw, the large move in the long dated vol. One thing that we've been working on at Paradigm is this thorough Deribit Ethereum wallet analysis, basically looking at the inflows and outflows into the major Deribit wallets from the start of when this program was going up. And the main takeaway of that is we did not see, inflows into Deribit that would have been enough to sufficiently collateralize these positions on the move higher, unless they already had a ton of funds and, that were just sitting there dead on Deribit, which seems like a pretty inefficient use of capital to me. So the natural conclusion is that they needed to cover all this risk. And, we would assume that the program is over for the time being. And I could be wrong. It's impossible to know for sure. But Marty, you have first hand experience in shortfall strategies. Like, did you see this flow? Like, how do you prevent your shortfall strategies from significant drawdowns to the point where, you're closing down positions and, you might be out of the market for a while?
This is the same guy that does like the on book quoting, right? It's the same main player that we
Exactly.
suspect, right, for the last, I don't know, year and a half or
On
whatever, right?
screens,
It's
yeah.
still that same major player.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I mean, not every major player is always going to be right. I think that guy won a lot and kept winning a lot, and kept winning over and over and over, and you can only win so much. Maybe it was a little too panicky, right? Because we instantly saw it just flow back down, and I don't know who he is or she is, right? We don't know. I don't know if
either.
it's a miner or if it's an entity or if it's a fund or whatever, right? Um, when you're looking at this, like, were they better off probably just holding on their positions or re-adding collateral? I think that this BlackRock followed by this XRP ruling really put a lot of people on tilt or on edge or offsides, whatever terminology you want to use. I didn't necessarily feel like super risky. I didn't feel like, oh my God, I need to cover everything. We covered some, but we still collected data the next day, right? It wasn't like, oh, we need to go long, super long dated stuff. We need to change our whole strategy today. Still, like I said in the beginning, there's still no real catalyst. We've had the catalysts. Like, these were supposedly the the upside black swan catalyst. The BlackRock is coming to bring us to Valhalla. The SEC is probably going to lose every single case from here on out, right? Because now, how are you going to say ETH is a security or not a security, or some other coin? What was interesting there, which I don't think a lot of people even realized, was that the SEC said XRP was a security when offered privately to funds, but it wasn't a security when offered to the public, which seems a little backwards, right? Yeah, if anything, it's a little backwards, right? I mean, they're going to go back to court. They're going to go back to the drawing board. This fight isn't necessarily over. When you see somebody like this ETH overrider guy win over and over and over, of course he's going to get his face ripped off once. But I think that it was maybe he was too jumpy. Like, we're back at a 40 handle, right? Like, CPI was what, like a 50, let's say, right? And we're below that. And they're like, Jesus Christ, like, if we hit that 20, I'm done, dude. I can't come back until we get above 20. I got to go trade TradFi products, which is totally okay. I'll go trade some AI stocks and follow the shiny new toy if I have to. But yeah, I think just essentially the guy, team, whoever, overreacted. I think that maybe they could have posted some more collateral. They could have rode it out for 48 more hours and come out on the other side of it as probably the fucking GOAT trader of all time if they rode that one out.
Yeah, exactly. We were really surprised by how quick, this guy was willing to cover. And, I mean, you saw where these things were printing too, right? It really only trades with what looks like, one market maker. So, I mean, this market maker, I imagine, made an absolute killing on the way in and out on this thing.
Yeah, you just have to look like. Go ahead.
He needs one of your he needs one of your hats, Marty.
Yeah, whoever is the market maker or whoever is this guy, I will send you a box for free. Okay. A 10-pack. I'll send you a 10-pack, okay, of the discontinued merch. Yeah, you need that one after that play for sure. No, it's just could have been one of these events like that we saw 40 handle to 80 handle, and imagine that loss that he would have accrued on something of this scale, right? Losing $3-4 million after making, I don't know, we can go back and do the math, right? The last year and a half, I don't know, you made 100 million, let's say, just randomly. Oh, you lost 3. Oh, whatever. Still happy, right? Yeah, it's definitely could have been a lot worse. It could have, I mean, we could have saw 70, 80 handle, and imagine we saw that in 2 hours, like an FTX Black Swan or something like that. Yeah, he would have literally had his face ripped off, and Loris would have baked the cake for sure.
Yeah, we're kind of of the assumption that, maybe, this program, might be over a little bit for the time being, but as you said, right, all look at all the other trades that had done quite well. Would not be surprised if this guy's, back ready to play again in, Q3, Q4.
Yeah, and just go look at like all these people trying to buy vol, especially in like a directional way. It's like if you don't get that big move, and if you don't get that big move fast, essentially you lose every day. Every time you pay theta, you keep, oh my God, this even like retail. I had a buddy who, oh, I put on some directional plays of decent size for retail, and I was like, oh, have you looked at your theta tab? He was paying like 2,500 bucks a day, and I was like, do you even know what that is? Do you even know like what that means, or are you just like just straight out, punting, 100K option long, like 100K cash long? And he was like, yeah, I'm just over here gambling basically. So I don't know. This besides like the smart vol players and the TradFi guys that have come to the vol space, options is still like a whole new.
Yeah, we see it.
I don't even know the
We
word,
see it
right?
like especially like an execution style and kind of like what Joe was saying earlier and how people like will top ticket and like the flows on the last side a bit. People just because people come from like from paradigms like view, right? So we have, like let's say like a group of takers and that are just directional traders that will come in when like an XRP ruling comes out or like CPI day or things like
Yeah.
that. And when they come in, the flows are just so aggressive and like just so violent and they're always on the move. And then the next day it's nothing. Like you're collecting data, like there's not really much. It just is so quick. And then I feel like they're on the wrong side so often. But I agree with you that the big players and, the smart TradFi guys who do like size bigger and they're usually like in a little bit earlier, like obviously are the ones, successful at the end of the day. But yeah, we do see so much of this jumpy flow.
Jumpy
Marty,
flow. I like that.
Marty,
Go ahead.
what's your obviously right now as well? We're very much in this positive spot vol correlation world. So I'm always interested when someone who's kind of running consistently short vol. Does that overlap with a view that spot's not going anywhere soon, or are you kind of neutral on that? If we just grind higher and grind towards 35, 40K, vol's not going to do a lot on that. Like how are you viewing spot within the vol view that you have?
Yeah, I mean, when you trade on Deribit, or I guess even OKX, right? It's all coin margined, right? So essentially, you want the vol regime to shift, and you want to be just balls long, and you want to be coin margined, and you want to double dip in the profits. But right now, it just seems for us just to be collecting more coins every day. Let's make a little more coin, and I can't wait until the vol regime shifts, whenever it comes, and just be balls long and just make a killing and put out new memes. And you think the short vol memes are good? Wait till the long vol memes, right? I'm just trying to pass time right now. I'm trying to have a laugh, essentially it's been boring, but boring is good, right? Especially as a short vol player, you want just to be boring. You want to collect data every day. You don't want this spot. I'm happy right here, 30K and 1900. I don't want it to move, right? It's been like, I don't know, it's so long in this range, like of ETH 1600 to 2000. I think it was like 100 plus days. Like that's amazing for us, right? I don't want this. I don't know, let's say 1500, 3000, 1500, 3000. I want these more tight, shorter ranges for longer periods of time. Whenever the vol regime shifts, and we're not super max short right now like we were, I think we're positioning for Q4 and Q1 of next year, kind of like everybody else, hoping that this maybe there's even a front run of the halving, and that brings back some flows, just some more, not macro, but more bigger picture plays instead of, oh my God, it went from 43 to 42, and the next day it went from, 42 to 43 to 42 handle, or today it's 40. Like, we're still just down and to the right if you just look at the default chart, right? If I really want it just to come back organically without a black swan, because you don't want a black swan like Binance going down to bring back vol. That would not be good for anybody, and TradFi will continue to laugh at us, right? Um, yeah, coming out of that, it's just I can't wait until we're just balls long and it's just so much easier. Just you could just hold spot and 10x. Like that's always fun for everybody, but I have to make money every quarter. I can't make money every 10 years, right? I'm not a 10-year fund, right? People can redeem every quarter. And we're not
Right.
that big, right? We don't have $1 billion. Like, if you redeem, I don't know, 10 million, you redeem half the fund, like, oh geez, maybe I'm out of business.
Right, but if I want leverage and long vol exposure, and I look at some of the performance of these crypto equities, right? Like sure, like BTC looks like a complete dog, compared to some of these equities that actually has decent option markets, right? Like I'm looking like MSTR, Marathon here. I have a chart here, right here, right? So like if I want to play that sort of long vol, and look, I understand that you're going to be paying much more premium for these things. These things are trading around 110, 120
Yeah.
vol, Marathon and Riot up 400%. MSTR 215. I have Nvidia there just for comparative purposes. I mean, fucking Coinbase, certainly it's a different animal, but like it's up 90% or whatever over the past month, right? If you want these sort of, upside convexity long vol sort of plays, sure, agree, you're paying for it. No, nobody's denying that, but like kind of seems like the better place to be playing it. And I think like existentially, it's one of these, when I think about the current state of the crypto option markets, let's say like I am just some retail guy, right? Whether I'm offshore or onshore, retail guy, I'm sitting on the sidelines. I have some dry powder. Like, why would I go long vol in Deribit BTC options if I'm looking for that upside convexity to capture, this next bull cycle? If I want leverage, just trade the crypto equities. These are leverage crypto businesses. Like, if I want leverage on leverage, why don't I just trade options on these crypto equities? Right? Look, no one's denying that 80% upside in BTC is it's still a damn great performance, and of course you're going to expect magnified moves in these crypto equities. But like when I think about it from an adoption standpoint, and look, I'm not shilling paradigm Kool-Aid by any means on this, because obviously we want this BTC crypto native option market to grow, but like I know my funds are going to be safe at Fidelity or Schwab or wherever the hell I'm trading this thing. I can earn 4.5% on my cash by keeping my money in a Fidelity account. Sure, I'll pay more premium on like a Bitcoin miner equity, but the thing realizes a lot more and it outperforms. And if I'm a retail guy, I'm trading directionally anyways. I just want gamma and convexity. I don't need to deal with managing funds on multiple venues. I don't need to deal with lack of regulatory clarity. And the crypto vol market, on Derib is full of vol sellers like Marty that just grind the market to a halt. So like, am I crazy here? Like, if you can access crypto vol exposure in already a relatively clean way, with a lot less headaches and things to worry about, or like cross margining, whatever, like why wouldn't, as a speculator, wouldn't somebody just trade crypto equity options?
Yeah, yeah. For us personally, right, we're a crypto only fund, so it's like
Got
it would be illegal for me to go take that money and go trade stocks, right? So let's not do that. But my personal portfolio is up big, right? January and March, publicly on the Twitter, I was like balls long Nvidia, just super some leaps, super long leaps, 1 2 year leaps, and shares, and I was like, and AMD, if that's the future. I don't know. ChatGTP was like this hype in, I don't know, January or February. That this time everybody was using it. I was like, if this is the future, then essentially chips are the future. Just go buy the chip makers. Well, that played out on my personal portfolio, right? And too bad I don't have $10 billion to go make 50 billion, right? But I don't think that even retail thinks about what you just said. Essentially, maybe that's why they need to watch your pod, right? They're just like, oh, Bitcoin's the best performing asset, or ETH is the future of money or the internet, and I just want to be long crypto. But they don't realize that they could go make $1 billion in the stock market and be able to bank that money. Right? Go try to make $1 billion in crypto, then go show up at Bank of America and, oh, hey, you guys want to take my $1 billion? They're like, no, sorry, you have to go find some other wealth manager to go handle that money for you. I was telling my wife, I guess like a month or two ago, kind of when like the world was ending and the crypto, what was it, 16K? I don't even know when that was, November, December. I was like, maybe I'll go back to stocks, right? Maybe you could make $1 billion and go bank that money and not have any regulatory issues or anything like that. But I decided to raise a new fund and stick with crypto. And I live in Brazil. I guess we could transition a little bit into that, like the regulatory US versus Brazil. But Brazil is coming out with a full regulatory framework for crypto. Essentially, as long as it's the one liner is if it's not a scam, it's okay. You can't advertise derivatives to retail like on Twitter. Bybit and somebody else, Bybit and Binance got in trouble for doing this. But let's say if you go to Bybit's website and it's in Portuguese, if you change it to English, you can still trade derivatives. It just can't be like publicly on Twitter or on billboards and things like this, like the advertisements. I think that Brazil is probably the next bigger player, right? I just had lunch with a few guys that were in Brazil for some business in the crypto business. I'm not going to name them, but this is becoming like the next hub. We're going to be the first ones to do the digital currency. We'll be the guinea pig, right? The digital real will be the guinea pig for the rest of the world. We're 220 million people with sound financial system and soon to be crypto regulated markets and all these other things. Right now it's like this, still a little wild west, but as long as it's not a scam, it's totally okay. You can trade any crypto, you can have leverage, you can trade options. It's unlike the US where you can't even get on Deribit, right? You can't even get on any sort of derivative exchange. You're stuck trading on Binance US, Kraken, and I think that's it, right? LedgerX is finished in the US.
Coinbase.
So where are you going to trade Coinbase? Yeah, but then you pay
So many
fees
fees.
but again, retail doesn't even think about that, right? I think it just goes back to maybe stupidity, like, oh, I'm long Bitcoin, I'm a Bitcoin maxi, I'm sticking it to the government while still paying your taxes or whatever else. Back to your thing, Joe. Like, yeah, just don't think like people even think about that. Imagine you bought Riot, Mara, Nvidia, any of those players for upside. Even if you're just holding shares, you have less risk than holding Bitcoin outright. You don't have to self-custody it. You don't have to worry about a DeFi hack. You don't have to worry about a bridge hack. You can bank the money. Yeah, I just don't think people even think for themselves a little bit, right? They just like, oh, I'm a Bitcoin maxi and that's it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
And what are you guys doing where you guys are, like in terms of regulatory? Like I know in the States is screwed. Brazil's open. I haven't even followed up on Europe, David. Maybe you could give some insights.
I guess particularly the UK, we've probably got quite a good history in terms of exploiting that regulatory arbitrage angle, and there's definitely a very open, sort of constructive approach to regulation here. So it's very consultative. And yeah, we're in the process of sort of laying out a framework within which we can work, and Europe as well, very similar. So it definitely feels a lot more friendly an environment, I guess, and yeah, one that's open to. I think, and I'm very critical always of the regulator and the UK government, but we seem to be taking a sensible approach, recognizing that we can't necessarily shoehorn existing regulations into crypto. So yeah, it's very open. I mean, Rishi Sunak, our Prime Minister, he's very keen on crypto. He said in the past he's bought crypto, traded it, what have you. So he gets it. He gets what the opportunity is. Maybe in a post-Brexit world, we kind of looking to protect the city of London a little bit as well. So being open to, we don't want to be closing too many doors there. But yeah, it's there's quite a good buzz, certainly in London and definitely I think across Europe. And it feels like the regulators are kind of getting their arse into gear. Same, I guess, across like Asia and the Middle East. There's it feels like the US are kind of falling behind everyone else at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, everyone that we see, U.S. Just more and more, companies just moving offshore. Whether those are, crypto banks or, trading operations or VC firms, Anderson Horowitz, obviously the main example, setting up office in the UK. And yeah, I mean, even me and Steve going down to Brazil for a month or so, and then we'll be over in the UK shortly. After that, it's very clear. The writing is on the wall. The UK, Europe, or Asia or Brazil are kind of the places to be.
I think as well, like, we live in an increasingly like globalized world, and I guess crypto, is kind of like the next evolution into like this kind of borderless world. So it's very, very difficult for even let's have some respect for the US in terms of its size and importance, but these businesses now tend to be global in a way, and they can then move and go to where the regulatory regime is going to welcome them and make business easy. So I kind of am expecting the US to do an about turn at some point. When again, the money talks at the end of the day, and once they see money walking out the door, and there's some pretty lumpy fiscal deficits that they've got to service. So I think what's the saying that politicians they do the right thing once they've exhausted every other avenue. It kind of feels like the US will get there, but they need to do it quick because things are building pretty rapidly elsewhere, and we're actually seeing it. Right, we're seeing businesses move out of the US now and go set up elsewhere in more friendly jurisdictions. And Marty, yourself, you're out in Brazil.
Yeah, no, I think what's funny there, being a burger originally myself, like the burgers only think that there's only burger land. There's not the rest of the world, right? And the SEC is the enforcer of the world financial markets. Well, that's not how it works, right? And I think that recently they've really overstepped like their grounds on just I don't want to get too into it, but essentially like how are you going to enforce something when you don't have any rules? You have some book from the securities laws from 1940s, amazing. Can we just rewrite those rules? And if you just clearly state that this is illegal and this is not illegal, this is a security and this is a commodity, if you just state those simple things, and if you do this, then it's illegal, and if you do this, then you're okay to do whatever and have clear, sound financial markets, then none of this would be happening, right? They wouldn't be losing out on innovation. And I know that USD is the world reserve currency, but I'm not at the point, I was at the point, but I'm not like a Bitcoin maxi anymore. After going through everything, I used to be. Maybe I'll be wrong, right? But I don't think that like, oh my God, we're gonna move Bitcoin from central bank to settle debts. Like, yeah, maybe when I'm dead, cool, have fun, But like today, that's not how it works. In the next 5, 10 years, I don't know, unless the US goes bust or something in the next 50 years, I guess, then maybe. But no other currency right now looks fit to be the world reserve currency. And that's not a burger statement,
Yeah.
right? That's
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, we've spoke about on here before, like we've kind of debunked the whole de-dollarization sort of narrative. I mean, particularly in the world of foreign exchange, it's a relative game, right? And who else is going to take over that reserve sort of mantle? Certainly not China. Unless you're going to open your capital markets and have free capital markets there. So yeah, it's yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. Yeah, I
I'm
don't,
not
I don't
seeing
think.
that. I'm not seeing that with China, right? Like Sequoia just had to totally separate their China fund and the US fund. Now it's like Sequoia China. Like it's not owned by well, it's probably owned somehow. Somebody has some stake somewhere, but it's not owned by like Sequoia funds, San Francisco or wherever they are. Stanford, I guess, right next to Stanford, right? And it's like, oh, one of the biggest players in the game is totally like cutting off their China arm. Of course, it's still going to run. Of course, it's going to do this, but who wants to go become a CEO in China when they just jail you and tell you can't IPO, and it's just like not cool and not safe. Again, like you just people have to come out with regulations and laws if it's crypto or stocks or companies venture, and then people play with those rules. They play in that sandbox, and the US right now is losing out on this whole crypto regime, whatever that
Yeah.
means, whatever
And,
flows that mean in the future.
and I think that's the most frustrating thing, right? Because like most of us, that are involved in this space, and particularly from the institutional world, I think like everyone just wants that clarity, right? I think we're all in agreement. Like, no one wants consumers getting burnt. No one wants, criminal activity being involved in crypto. We kind of want all those protections, but also, we want the innovation. We want to do business in the space. So I think it's frustrating because actually the world is, the crypto world is crying out. So yeah, give us the rules. Tell us what they are. So at least then we know what we're playing with. I think that's the massive frustration from so many people in terms of how the US are approaching it. And unfortunately, it feels like, certainly in the UK, we're taking a lot more open approach and open-minded approach to it.
I think it goes back to if the bankers have something that they can make money with, some product that they could sell, then there will be 100% shift, 180, turn shift in one day. Overnight, I think if the bankers have a product to sell, I don't know, a spot ETF or leverage ETF or all of them at the same time, and you have various other crypto ETFs tracking what we have on the screen right now. Once that happens and everybody has something to sell and there's money to be made, then sure. But right now, like totally anti-crypto from the SEC. I don't know if that changes if or when Gensler gets replaced. It's just a sad thing because the U.S. used to be like innovation, everything, open markets, everything. America, we have rights. Screw you, basically, right? And now it's like, well, poof, the candle just blew out. You're totally missing out on this. Yeah, sure, go trade your tech stocks. And of course, there's still, I don't know, $4 trillion of USD moved in Swift every day. Of course, you're still the world reserve currency, but you kind of just missed out on like a new flow of innovation, which is not what the U.S. has been created on, stood for, whatever you want to say. So yeah, moved down to Brazil, and I can't vote, right? So whatever politics doesn't affect me. I pay my taxes. It's only a 15%, under $1 million a year, 15% capital gains tax, and then I still have to pay those damn burgers a little bit forever, unless I get rid of the
Yeah.
passport.
What's the crypto vibe like, Marty, in Brazil?
In Sao Paulo, it's getting bigger, right? And in Brasilia, which is like our Washington, D.C. Brasilia is in like the middle of the country, and Sao Paulo's south of Rio, south of me. It's getting bigger. All of the banks are now doing something in the space. Even Nubank, which is like a online bank for younger people. They give you access to credit card and banking, and it's on a cool app and whatever, right? Oh, you can buy crypto inside the banking app. Well, imagine you could buy crypto inside of, I don't know, your Wells Fargo or Bank of America app. Like, that would just be a cool thing, right? It's not leveraged, it's just spot. They custody it for you. It's inside your banking app. Oh, that's cool. And if in Rio, it's not like a big thing. Specifically in Brazil, crypto has been like used for scamming and send me USDT and scamming and sports bet scams and all these other scams. So the people are a little like standoffish, a little bit. But then you go to, especially in Rio, because there's been a lot of these Bitcoin scams. One of the biggest Bitcoin scams, I think, was in Brazil too. And then you go to Sao Paulo and it's totally different, right? The suits are on it, the banks are on it. They want to make money, they want products to sell. And once the CVM, which is the Brazilian SEC, comes out with their crypto regulation, which they had 180 days to draft it and 180 days to implement it. So within the next year or so. And again, that's just like the one-liner. If it's not a scam, it's okay, and you can't publicly advertise derivatives to the public, but you can offer them. So that will be a total regime shift. You have fire blocks down here. You have a lot of hedge funds down here. You have a lot of people getting into the space, especially bigger banks. unlike the US, I don't know, like you don't see Bank of America, you don't see Wells Fargo, you don't see First Republic, like just even offering crypto inside of the app. That would just be a game changer of stance in the US, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It's an interesting world for sure down here. Like a lot of people have a hard life, right? Minimum wage is $200 a month, and then you have a huge wealth gap to the people who own all the farms and all the oil and all the stuff, and billionaires driving Rolls Royce or multimillionaires driving Rolls Royce and whatever. And there's a market here. People always like to gamble here. If it's sports betting, if it's crypto, like there's a total market for I don't know how to, whatever Rollbit or whatever kind of gambling crypto sites. There's a full market down here already. And the next phase is like this digital real and more like the institutional route, not like retail, not focusing on like investing, more, oh, how can we trade with all of the Mercosur, which is all South America? How can we trade with South America? How can we settle it instantly? Well, it's going to be some sort of tokenization of some money, whatever they want to call that, whatever kind of coin. They're more taking this government and institutional approach instead of trying to shill shit to retail, basically.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Really, really cool hearing these insights, and looking forward to hearing more of them in person when Steve and I
Land
are
of the
down there.
bees.
The land of the
Can't
bees.
wait.
You guys are
Can't
always
wait.
welcome. Land of the bees.
But yeah, so we're at the 45-minute mark now. Marty, thank you so much for coming on. Really loved hearing you talk about, the crypto options world, Brazilian adoption and your views just generally on regulation. So thanks again, man, for coming on, and hopefully we can do it again sometime soon.
Sounds
Be
good.
well,
Parents.
Marty.
Talk to you guys later.